face keeps running, running, and 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 in this context, there's no disrespect. So when I bust my rhyme, you break your necks. We got 5 minutes for us to disconnect from all intellect and let the rhythm affect. To lose the inhibition, follow your intuition, free your inner soul and break away from tradition. Cause when we be out, girl, it's pulling me out. You wouldn't believe how we wow shit out. We burn it till it's burned out, turn it till it's turned out. Act up from northwest, east side. Everybody, everybody, let's get into it. Get stoked, get it started, get it started, get it started. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Yeah. Lose control of body and soul. Don't move too fast, people, just take it slow. Don't get ahead, just jump into it. Y'all hear about it? The P's will do it. Get started, get stupid. Don't worry about it, people will walk you through it step by step like an infant new kid. Inch by inch with a new solution. Transmit hits with no delusion. The feeling's irresistible and that's how we move it. Yo, everybody, everybody, let's get into it. Get stoked, get it started, get it started, get it started. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Yeah. Running, running, and running, running. Come on, y'all. Let's get it. Let's get it. And y'all like it. Let's get it. And y'all like it. Let's get it. And let's get ill, that's the deal. Applicator will bring the bug dot drill. Just lose your mind, this is the time. You can't stand still, twist and bang your spine. Just bob your head like me, Apple D. Up inside your club or in your Bentley. Get messy, loud and sick. Your mind fast, normal on another head trip. So come them now, do not correct it. Let's get ignorant, let's get hectic. Everybody, everybody, let's get into it. Get stoked, get it started, get it started, get it started. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Running, running, and running, running, and running, running, and running, running.
Hello, attendees to the Upper Cervical Diplomate program. My name is Dr. Stan Pierce Jr., and I wanted to congratulate you on this valiant attempt to become the elite leaders in our profession. Although some of you may have begun attending this program for the credentials that would be extended at the end of your name, or for the accolades of being in this unique group, the more exciting part is that you are going to represent the elite in upper cervical care. You're going to represent the most knowledgeable, understanding group that can properly demonstrate or represent upper cervical care to the rest of our profession, to the rest of the healthcare industry, and to the rest of the world. It's through you that we're going to be looking for guidance on legislative decision-making and academic modifications, and really being able to unify not only the upper cervical community, but also help the rest of our profession unify under the specialization in the upper cervical work. I've been asked to do an introduction to Advanced Orthogonal, a very unique technique within the chiropractic industry. And I am so excited to be able to share with you what we're working on here, because it is an endeavor that is new. We are definitely the youngest group, the youngest technique on the block, and we are so excited about the direction that we're going and how it can help the rest of the upper cervical profession as well. We love upper cervical care. I personally am a fourth generation upper cervical doctor. My father, Dr. Stan Pierce Sr., has been embedded in the industry ever since he was going through Palmer early on and studying the Grostic work and the Atlas Orthogonal work, and then being blessed in 2000 to start the Advanced Orthogonal technique. And my grandfather, great-grandparents, they were all part of the upper cervical movement. My grandfather was with Dr. Grostic in college and was in the first class of the Grostic work. So what's been interesting is my family's kind of always been looking for the next breakthroughs, looking for what new developments might occur in chiropractic, and trying to support the advancement of the profession. And that's why I'm so passionate about the Upper Cervical Diplomate program, and so glad to be supporting it in every way that we can. When it comes to our individual technique, Advanced Orthogonal had its main roots in the Grostic procedure and in the concepts of orthogonality. But inside the idea of orthogonality, there is also the assumption that most people, when in alignment, should sit orthogonal. And as I'm sure you've learned by this point, orthogonal meaning 90-degree relationships, that's where the head and neck are directly vertical over each other and the atlas bone sitting perpendicular to that. Well, that assumption is unfortunately affected by the variability of genetics. And one of the main directions Advanced Orthogonal grew upon was the interpretation of how do genetic uniquenesses affect the ability of someone to be orthogonal. Or, more appropriately, I guess you could say, is somebody being orthogonal their neurologic zero? Well, I look forward to sharing with you some of the ideas that we have. And a lot of those ideas can be found in concepts that have been generated by other people. We enjoy listening to other groups' presentations and trying to figure out the rightness of the other upper cervical techniques. Rather than trying to prove each other wrong, we like to prove how right you are. And hopefully we can combine that information in ways that help patients get better results. The mission statement of Advanced Orthogonal. We believe in challenging the status quo in healthcare, as well as in chiropractic. Forever striving to improve our quality of care, we will always look for the next conceptual or technological breakthrough that will help us achieve better spinal corrections and optimal patient health. B.J. Palmer encouraged this concept too, that we'll visit in just a moment. But when we look at some of the breakthroughs that Advanced Orthogonal has had since its inception, one of the beginning points was in the mid-90s. My father had been researching how the potential of aberrancy in the condyles would affect the atlas's ability to sit perpendicular to the skull. And as we go through different orthogonal models in the breakout classes for the different techniques, the Grostic-based work always had a discussion of the plane of the atlas sitting perpendicular to the bisecting of the parietal bones was normal. What's interesting, since we have many different techniques being represented in the diplomate, what's interesting is to think about that the Blair procedure discussing the atlas's correlation to the condyles and saying that's where the subluxation exists. So sometimes it gets perceived that because the Grostic-based work looks at the atlas to the parietal bone relationship, that there's a missing link between how is the atlas and the condyles perspective. Well, one of the very first breakthroughs in the idea of orthogonality when my father began looking at the aberrancy of the condyles was in looking at the aberrancy of the condylar plane, figuring out whether or not the condyles were sitting perpendicular to the parietal bones, and therefore the atlas could sit perpendicular to the parietal bones. This was a unique concept because many orthogonal practitioners can see upper angles or atlas misalignments of high degrees. And with White and Panjabi talking about a maximum 5-degree misalignment potential, there are sometimes upper angles and misalignments that are over 5 degrees. And the discussion is, well, there must be some aberrancy there. Yeah, there's often aberrancy there. And an aberrancy in the condylar plane is one of those first analysis modifications that my father discovered actually in the mid-1990s. Secondly, there were uniquenesses in biomechanics that when you work with an instrument adjustment, the instrument delivers a static impulse for the correction. And that single line of drive, almost similar to striking a cue ball with a pool stick, that single line of drive is intended to have multiple effects, multiple physics effects to multiple joints and misalignments. Well, understanding that there are certain misalignment patterns that are more biomechanically friendly, as we'll discuss in the breakout classwork for the Advanced Orthogonal procedure. Some of those misalignments are biomechanically friendly, but a subluxation is not normal biomechanics, obviously. So people can have misalignments where the atlas vertebrae can slip off to the side and rotate a certain direction. The second vertebrae can go completely opposite of that. The lower neck can angle off left or right underneath it. Or it can be a completely different one from that, consistent or inconsistent with normal biomechanics. So the difficult part when doing an instrument adjustment is in the table placement that's required to preset those joints, to influence them for a balanced reduction of all the misalignments. At the same time, when a single impulse hits them at the right angle. This is called typical and atypical table placement biomechanics. A lot of the atypical biomechanics my father was developing early in the 90s as well, and has been able to bring those over into the advanced orthogonal work to help us achieve better balanced reductions of all 4 misalignments on post-X-ray. Another discussion of refinements in the advanced orthogonal procedure is in the development of the laser X-vector alignment tool. And what this has to do with is that when you are calibrating mathematics from the X-ray analysis, and you're going to input those mathematics into the instrument, you must take into account the patient's body position on the table. A patient may not lay centered in the table. The patient's body frame may not be allowing them to sit perfectly level from their C7 to EOP when laying on their side. And some of these positions can affect the accuracy of whether or not the mathematics put into the instrument actually calibrate correctly to match and adjust the patient's anatomy on the right angle. So there's 2 calibrating methods that we use in advanced orthogonal. One of them is to calibrate the rotational vector, which is set on the x-plane, around the x-axis, and that is utilizing a laser template that shoots a laser off a prism onto the headpiece once it's been aligned to the patient's skull, and it tells us where that patient is positioned. And from that point, we can calibrate our rotational setting. Now, that laser template idea was an idea given to us by Dr. Paul Hambrick, who was just a young graduate student and came to the clinic with fresh ideas. And that virtually eliminated the error of visualizing the patient's center point from which to place the coordinates. We then had the understanding that when a patient is laying on their side and they don't lay level because of their body frames not being completely level and parallel with the table, we then realized that there is also a head height angle measurement from which to calculate the height vector. And that's an idea that Dr. Scott Pancake and Paul Hambrick and I, when we were discussing this early on at the clinic, and I said, I think we have a missing measurement. And that was something we found we were able to refine the calibration of the adjusting instrument, and has proven to be more accurate for us. There's also been refinements inside the X-ray analysis program, where when attempting to bisect the center of the parietal bones, there can often be different discrepancies in the parietal bones. And my father developed what's called a zoning procedure, which gives us a 3-zone verification, or almost like a triple check system, to make sure that the line that you determine to be the center weight-bearing portion of the parietal bones is a consistent, accurate line. We also developed a 4-point referencing of the atlas on its plane of reference. And we'll discuss that in detail in the Advanced Orthogonal breakout session. We also looked into the axial surface, and when you're using an instrument to deliver a line of drive that's on a degree-specific angle, this is being customized. This adjusting angle is customized around the patient's anatomy, number one, which is the curvature of the condyles and the curvature of the top of the C2 surface. And then once that angle is determined as to what angle of leverage is required to move the atlas through its own anatomy, then that angle is then modified based upon aspects of the subluxation. Well, in more accurately determining the axial circle measurement, we actually take a separate x-ray specifically to see that surface on the plane that it's sitting. And that's been able to help us get a more accurate height setting to our instrument adjustment. Dr. Pete Fernandez gave us the idea when we were improving the table construction. He gave us the idea of motorizing the shoulder piece to enhance doctor comfort in setting a patient up, and also for refinements of the table placement protocol. And that was a great idea he had. Refinements of the X-ray analysis instruments. Well, my father had been working on refinements of those for quite a while. And so we've been able to take those and bring them into updating the analysis templates. And then John Overcash and my cousin Dr. Mark Pierce were working in conjunction with VizTech in Jacksonville. And my cousin Dr. George Berry were all working together on the idea of digital X-ray analysis, and they were funding and really working towards getting a digital system in place that would be more accurately analyzable. Probably bad words there, but you get the idea. They were working to try to help us be better at our X-ray analysis, and there are limitations to plain film X-ray analysis. With inside the digital system, being able to have the ability to magnify, to change the contrast, to be able to have the templates embedded there where you can match them up to the skull, there's so much advantage to the digital X-ray analysis that when we first saw that, we thought, you guys are really onto something here. And we went and visited with VizTech in Jacksonville, and we helped encourage a little bit more refinement to it, and we actually obtained the first digital system with the VizTech software. And from that point, we realized the accuracy of what's going on and the improvements that have been made, and our patient's ability to receive a better adjustment from us. So the advanced orthogonal technique was the first technique to completely convert to digital X-ray analysis. And not shortly after that, many other techniques have moved that direction too, and it's a good direction. So the trend is moving with new concepts, new technology. We have to keep advancing the chiropractic profession. B.J. Palmer stated, practicing with HIO, or we'll say upper cervical principles, is like placing people on various steps of a ladder. There's a bottom from whence they began and a top where they hope to arrive. As advancements and improvements evolve, new steps are added to the top. Each HIO practitioner will be found somewhere on a level of ascendancy between the top or the bottom and the top. To hear any chiropractor say he uses HIO may mean nothing, something, or much, according to his understanding, mastery of its known elements, and his attainment of efficiency in combining all into one completed harmonious whole, and then constantly keeping on increasing his efficiency in application without slipping. One of the most important statements in that monologue, or that discussion there, was as advancements and improvements evolve. The Advanced Orthogonal program looks respectfully upon its heritage. We look extremely favorably upon B.J. Palmer's developments and the toggle method, we look very fondly on the Grostic-based procedures and Dr. Grostic's attempt to make B.J. Palmer's work more refined, adding degree-specific measuring to it, adding the concept of a weight-bearing center of gravity. The Advanced Orthogonal program respects the development of instrument technology, trying to help doctors be more consistent with their delivery of the adjustment, less human error, even easier on the doctor's body. I mean, the physical adjusting can take its toll. So we respect the work that Dr. Cecil Laney had with the excursion instrument and some other doctors back then, and we respect the work that Dr. Roy Sweat did in developing a percussive instrument adjustment. My father was actually there right at the beginning when that was being discussed and developed, and when those initial instruments were put into the field for research, my father had one of those first ones, and was right there side by side with Dr. Sweat through the Atlas Orthogonal development till the year 2000. Many years of devotion and support of advancements evolving. And in the last over a decade now, the amount of advancements that have been going on in Advanced Orthogonal has been really encouraging, not just to us, but I think to the idea of unifying the upper cervical community. Because when we can look and say, the Blair folks talking about the Atlas to condyle relationships is so vitally important. Advanced Orthogonal says, we agree. And we are attempting as well as we can without CT imaging, which we'll get to. But we're attempting to incorporate that concept into the orthogonal model. When we have techniques that say using before and after x-rays is a good objective measure to show alignment has been modified, improved, we agree. And before and after x-rays on the initial adjustment is a standardized part of Advanced Orthogonal's procedure. When we look at the Grostic-based work, talking about measurabilities and degree-specific refinements, when we talk about the center of gravity normalization, we agree. When we look at the NUCA procedure and all the refinements and the certification and aspects that they have, we support them. We model a lot of what we do after what other procedures are attempting to do as well. We're just trying to be considerate of everyone's perspectives and incorporate it into a comprehensive adjusting protocol that will allow us to get more consistent, better results. So we're fans of all of you. What's interesting also is that when we take into account genetic anomalies, I don't think that many people know about the number of genetic anomalies we actually participate in evaluating. So we will look at dents in the skull, either from forceps, births most commonly, or traumas, and how those dents would affect the line being drawn through the parietal bones in accordance with the Grostic-based analysis. We'll look for actual structural anomalies in the parietal bones to see whether the parietals have genetically been altered. We'll look at differences in the shape of the mastoid and how that would affect stabilizing the skull for the adjustment. We will look at aberrancies of the condyles on the superior-inferior plane, which would affect the concept of orthogonality being right or wrong for a patient. And we'll also look at aberrancies in the circular contour of those condyles, which would assist in affecting the line of drive to move the atlas through its own anatomy. We also analyze the atlas for any irregularities in the superior-inferior mass size, as well as the anterior to posterior mass size. We analyze the atlas for aberrancies in the posterior arch, in the transverse foramen, and in the transverse process. Because all of those variations and anomalies that can occur in those structures would throw off the consistency of a traditional Grostic analysis. We also look at aberrancies of the C2 surface to see if there's any inconsistencies with the axial circles and the contours of the top of the axial bone. We look at inconsistencies also of the C2 dens. So when we're looking for these anomalies, these aberrancies, all of them come into play. Because the goal of the advanced orthogonal adjustment is to adjust a patient in order to clear all misalignments, aligning a patient into a vertical center of gravity in their genetic normal. It's 3 components. Of course, clearing the misalignments to clear the nerve interference, putting a patient into their genetic normal so that they have a chance to hold better, as well as the center of gravity weight-bearing portion, all in an attempt to help them to hold longer. And with one adjustment, our goal is to clear atlas laterality, atlas rotation, C2 rotation, and the lower neck angling to provide that stability with a single impulse done on a vector-calibrated sound wave adjusting instrument. So we're excited. We love what we do, obviously, just like you love what you do. And we are looking forward to having a more expounded presentation for you on how we look at the structure. And our goal is to help assist you in whatever approach you're going to use for fixing your patient. Most all of the concepts that we have and that we implement can be transposed into other procedures. That's what we want. We ideally would love for a single chiropractic procedure to take into account the considerations of them all, where we all have the same x-rays being taken, and the same x-ray analysis conclusions, and the same table placement joint influences to set up for a friendly environment to receive the adjustment. And then however you choose to actually move the bone, whether it's by hand, handheld instrument, or a table-mounted instrument, well, that could be your preference. But our goal is to keep moving the profession forward and advancing technology, advancing the accuracy, moving towards perfection, towards a perfect adjustment, knowing that none of us will ever deliver a perfect adjustment because we're humans. But the goal is always perfection. And that's what we're working towards. Obviously, we will embed different video testimonials right now to try to just give you a little bit of the excitement of what's going on.
So your name?
Elizabeth Holthouse.
Elizabeth?
Holthouse.
Okay, great. And what do? Do you go to school, work? What?
Yes, I am in law school at Stetson University College of Law.
All right, great. And when did this predicament start?
Well, according to the doctor, it started when I was born or shortly after then. But I've had the hiccups now for almost 5 weeks.
Well,
Yes.
on a regular basis?
Much like they are right now, sometimes worse,
Wow.
but constantly. So it's very disruptive.
Imagine, yeah. Have you been able to like study or do anything at all, or?
It's hard to concentrate. I'm taking summer classes, and as you can imagine, it's hard to sit in class like this and read things, and so it's been a long couple of weeks, to say the least.
Yeah. Has and it's been so as far as have you can eat and drive and all that, okay?
I can eat and drive, yeah. When I sleep, it doesn't bother me when I'm sleeping. And when I eat, it does tend to stop. So those are good times for me.
Okay, good. Okay, well, very good. Well, we'll end off it, and then we'll talk to you after the adjustment too.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, I know you're anxious to get adjusted, so we'll let you go.
Don't want to let out at all.
Okay.
All right, darling, come
Great.
on around.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Okay. You just want me to start talking?
Yeah, just so.
Okay, well, I just got my first Atlas adjustment, and so far so good. I haven't hiccuped once since I got it done, so hopefully that'll stay how things are, and feeling pretty good right now.
Good. So, what was the adjustment like?
Oh, it was really easy. He just positioned me on the table and then did the sound waves through my neck, and didn't hurt. It was very simple. And I just laid still for a few minutes, so very easy. So not painful at all.
My name is Nicole, and I come from France. And I was 4 years in pain. My back was really, really bothering me to the point that sometimes I was not able to walk or get up from my bed. And I was fortunate to come here, to come to the Dr. Pierce care, and it changed my life completely. And for a long time, I have been, functioning, traveling, and it has been a new life for me. I mean, I was really handicapped in a way that sometimes I could not get up from my bed. And now I stay in a plane for 12 hours, traveling over France, and since my back, it's not really my back, but my neck was aligned, and it did impact my back, and I have no problem at all. I'm feeling very good.
We have patients that fly in from 37 different countries. The host headquarter facility for Advanced Orthogonal generates around 1,000 new patients per year, word-of-mouth referral. It's only got a couple of doctors in it right now. But we've got some really exciting things going on. We're also working hard on the research front. We just had Advanced Orthogonal being presented at the ACC RAC conference this last spring, and the Complementary Healthcare Division director of the National Institute of Health came over to our research doctor and said, "You guys are on the right track with what you're doing." He said there were only 3 studies out of all the studies presented that showed patient outcome assessment progress, and yours was 2 of them. And so he's very excited about the direction we're going and encouraged us to keep moving forward with larger studies pursuant to grants being submitted. We're also working on developing an online presentation to be able to do more education around the worldwide, and to be able to provide support to doctors who just need that more consistent reminder of the details of the procedure. And then there's the instrument. And this is obviously where we are instrumental practors. And I'll take my lumps in the joking about that. But using an instrument has its advantages. It does. It doesn't get tired during the day. I don't have to worry about whether the last adjustment of the day or the first one are going to be any different from each other. It doesn't know a staff member didn't show up. It doesn't know there was traffic that made you late. It just delivers a consistent impulse on the coordinates that are set. And when you learn how to set a patient up to prepare the joints to receive it, and you learn how to calibrate the correct numbers from the x-rays and calibrate them into the instrument to match the patient's body position, and you learn how to align the stylus and percussive interface directly with the transverse process in its exact location, the results that occur from that are expected. They're dependable. The post-x-rays show balanced reductions. Patients normalize neurology, and people hold the adjustment. And the better they hold, obviously the more they will heal. And the more excited they'll be about the results, and the better they refer. And it just produces a real good business model, similar to what all of you are attempting to do in your practices. So it does have its advantages. The disadvantages, it requires electricity. That could be a disadvantage. It is portable, but not easily portable. But I would easily take the benefits of a consistent adjustment over those 2 challenges. We look forward to visiting with you all at the Advanced Orthogonal elective, not the elective, but the advanced coursework, the expanded course on it. We hope to answer any questions that you have. I wish I could have been with you this weekend to deliver this personally, but schedule's very hectic, and so we're supporting you guys in the best way that we can. So we look forward to seeing what the future has for upper cervical, for you upper cervical diplomates, to lead the way and be setting the standard by which the rest of the upper cervical community and the chiropractic profession will follow, and just to see the camaraderie and the unity that results from this. We're very, very pleased with how the upper cervical world seems to be coming together, and we want to be part of that, and we want to encourage and uplift you all as you are an encouragement and you uplift us.